We have this amazing space biome. So cool. But if you look at the oxygen bar, there's holes, invisible holes in it where regular air is, and that makes absolutely no sense. You can't have oxygen in space. It's a vacuum. So, all right, so we're gonna try and fix that today. So first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna adjust the generation. We need to find an air pocket first though. Here we go, air pocket. And then we're going to exit out and we're gonna regenerate the entire dimension. I've put in some visual markers here. So if you take a look over here, Minecraft red stained glass. We are actually inside of a glass block right now, apparently. Now this was supposed to be a different color. The red stained glass is supposed to be the void air, but apparently it's inconsistent. The mystery thickens. Okay, so this is really confusing because what was supposed to happen is there should have been pockets of one thing and pockets of another thing, but instead it's saying everything is red stained glass and therefore everything should, it's not, but everything should be void air. So we're gonna go into spectator just to look at some things. So the gist of it is this: yellow is land, red is air. But you'll notice there's more land here than what shows up when we generate. So then maybe the pockets are caused by the carvers, because that's how we change the generation. They're basically just cave carvers, like you can see the ravine shape, but like heavily exaggerated. So that's how we like create the terrain. But you'll notice there's no pockets here. Like if we go inside of here, you can see that that's all red stained glass. Well, hang on. Let's just go back into regular and see what happens here. Okay, right here it's depleting, and right here it's full. So that's straight in a line. So where we're standing was oxygen, and over here, wait, the oxygen is in the red part. That means the red part is what's betraying us, and I might know why actually. So I have a visualization here. The thing about the red stained glass is I'm not using regular block placing. I'm actually using sea level to change it. Yeah, so apparently using water, the sea level, to place the void air is a problem. Who would have known? In hindsight, that may have been too janky. Maybe that should have been obvious. Well, to be honest, I did kind of expect this. You see, we're going to have to redo the generation from the ground up. Yeah, that was really funny. I know that you definitely laughed at that. Wait, I need some more. Have I told you guys how much I love this chest selector system? Oh, there we go. I need kind of an open spot to show this. We'll go up here. So the reason that it's this way, we have it generate, all this terrain. The thing is, it does not fill in the terrain like a perfect square. It has some noise attached to it. So it generates the land, say, like that. Just so stuff doesn't pour everywhere, I'm gonna do this. And then because I have sea level set to the max height, then it automatically fills in water in all of these gaps. So, if we set that to be void air, that should work. Obviously it's not. So then if the water's not going to work, I think the strat might be change the noise settings. So instead of having it generate, a random shape, we could have it fill in entirely with void air, or, oh, whoops. What's the point of a visualization if I'm using the wrong blocks? But we could fill it all in. Imagine I had enough. Imagine this is the whole thing. We can fill it all in with void air and have no generation attached to it really. And that would work for the empty part of space. But the problem is that when we go to, the asteroid part, there would be no noise settings to draw on. So we would have to generate it all from scratch through other methods, which are not as good. But you know what? We're going to try it. So I'll set the dimension to be all void blocks, no noise settings, no randomization. So I'll just tell you, there's this thing called final density, and it has just all this gobbledygook, like just a ton of gobbledygook. And I just deleted all of that and just set it to 1.0, which should mean that every single location should be turned into a block of our choosing, or I mean void air of our choosing. Why is the oxygen bar not going down? Has it not generated yet? What? There's nothing. We're at the bottom of the world. You can see, and there's actually like nothing here. Let's just check. Yep. It's all air blocks for some reason. Okay, I got back the ceiling and the floor and stuff. There's nothing generated in between. And what's weird is if we're at 239, oxygen goes down. We go down 1 block. And it's the same, it's like a flat barrier. There's like this invisible air leakage. And right above it is the void air. So if we could figure out what the difference is between 239 and 238, or actually I think technically it's 1 block up because it's testing for the block at our head. So it'd be 240 versus 239. What the difference is there generation wise, then we might be able to figure out where the leak is coming from. Okay, bit of good news, bad news here. So the good news is I think I figured out what's going on with the leak. So like the oxygen goes down near the sculk, but if we go down, it comes back up, like right there. So why is this air any different from that air? Well, I think that the reason has to do with chunks. So chunks aren't just split horizontally, they're actually also split vertically as well. So if you take a look at this blue line, watch what happens when we go above the blue line. Oh, look at that. The air is going down. In fact, if I'm looking like really straight, you can see it super. Yeah, see, once our head, which is like a full block, it gets below that line, then all of a sudden, yeah. So what I think is happening is I think that any chunk, so like say from there to there, anything that only has void air in it, maybe doesn't get saved. And the game just optimizes it and says it's all air. Because it's like regular air, void air, same thing. Well, not in our case, but presumably that's what it's doing. So the regular world gen isn't going to be enough. That's kind of the bad news. So if the default world gen is not enough, how can we change things? Is there a way? Oops. Is there a way to somehow adjust things? Well, there is something called features, which trees. What in the? This is a huge cave. Actually, this is a great indication of features, come to think of it. So when world gen happens, it generates all like, you know, maybe the same block. So like say stone, and then it generates some air as like a cave carving. But then it generates features. So it overwrites some of the stone as these little blobs of gravel or diorite or andesite, or even sometimes dirt. You know how you get the little dirt globs underground? I mean, even these mushrooms, I believe, are technically a feature. So if we could maybe make a feature to turn the air that we don't want into void air, that could maybe work. So I created the simplest one I could think of to try it. Literally the type is called simple block. So hopefully it works. What in the? I was just testing my feature out here, and it's like the chunk got updated, and all of a sudden now the void air is actually there. Like, here, let's try this again. I want to see if this can be duplicated. So we go over here, oxygen goes up. If I place one feature, what? So now it updated so the whole chunk uses void air. We leave, it goes back up. What in the world? So basically we just need to update every single chunk. Oh no. Look what happens if I set this block, tab, 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 to be void air. Watch what happens to the oxygen bar. Wait, why didn't this glass block disappear? So I think this kind of highlights the primary issue we have, which is Minecraft basically thinks that this chunk is not generated. That's usually what void air is used for. And we've unwittingly stumbled into that. So now it's really confused about what is going on with this block. So this right here is just a major setback. Being forced to have at least one physical block in every single chunk totally defeats our whole purpose. Not to mention it apparently glitches out stuff. So, what should we do about that? And I was thinking about this structure and I was like, wait a second. What's a block that you can move through? Doesn't have a hitbox. Oh, he can float around now. Oh, I'm just gonna die. Oh, unless that lever saves me. Get wrecked, noob. I did that on purpose because I wanted to show you something. Do you see these blocks? No, not the basalt. The little tiny... Oh, wait, this could actually cause problems. I just realized. So yeah, let me get something to help us see a little bit better. So you can see those little red squares. Those are structure voids. We can actually walk through those. No big deal. The slightly bigger deal is I think you might actually be able to punch them and just delete them. I don't know if you can, if they're like replaceable. Don't ask why there's TNT in here. I don't actually remember. Oh, they're replaceable, so you wouldn't necessarily know that they're there. They're not gonna like block placement. The only problem is that in command block survival, we can actually collect structure voids. It'd be pretty annoying if you're like up and you're like trying to go down and all of a sudden there's this giant red box and you're like, go away. So I don't know. Oh my. I got rid of the block predicate track. So it just randomly places them. This is a very cool effect. Definitely not what we're looking for at all. Not even remotely. But you'll notice anywhere we go, our oxygen is going down. Left the confines. I forgot about that message. That's great. So technically this works. It places a block in the corner of every single chunk all the way up. And obviously all these blocks could be something invisible like the structure voids. So, you know, our oxygen is going down. The question though is how annoying is it going to be to do structure voids? So let's just swap it. If we get too close to I think it's one of these corners. Oh, yep. Yeah. That is something that can happen. Oh, and even worse, you know what? This is probably going to make the decision for us. Every time you break a block, it turns into regular air, not void air. Oh, you know what? Man, we might have to just go with regular air and do something else clever with the spaceships and stuff. Yeah, because I mean, if you can just break a block and get air, A, that doesn't make sense. And B, it will ruin the whole balance of this thing. We would have to totally change how we're making these structures. So the space station, the spaceship, they couldn't have just regular air blocks. They would need something else. And then in exchange, we get consistency, which honestly is really valuable, but you know what that would mean? That would basically mean to fix the leak, we are just putting a ton of oxygen. We just pump this space dimension so full of oxygen that's the consistent thing. That's actually very, very funny. So let's spend some time thinking, how can we differentiate air inside of this or this? How can we differentiate it from outside? Like obviously we can save some specific block in the structure. Oh my goodness. This would be ridiculous, but we could do it. What if we just flip the whole thing, right? Because the void air only is saved if it's in a chunk that has blocks. Guess what has blocks? All of our structures. So if we put the void air inside, this is so dumb. If we put the void air inside, then we can breathe, and then we would go outside in the space dimension to where the actual air blocks are, and we would suffocate. That's so stupid. Oh, The real question is, how would we place the void air in here? Because that would be a little annoying. Because it's not like a block we can place. Okay, so here's a question. Can I give myself a void air block? No. Because if we could have made a crafting recipe for it. Alternatively, maybe we could work with the structure voids. Except for these have a special meaning in the structure, right? So if we put one, it's going to be different. Yeah, it's not going to get saved as it is. We do have light blocks. You can walk through these because we need something you can walk through that's not going to obstruct stuff. Light blocks have a function, so it's not perfect. Wait, how does this work? Oh yeah, so we have to set the light level to 0 for every single block. And then we would have to do that for like a bunch of blocks in a row. Which I guess wouldn't be that hard, but like it would be pretty time consuming. Oh dear, I just thought of a really janky idea that would almost certainly work. So, this is stupid. Okay, back to the structure voids. So, you look over here, right? All blue, that means those will be saved as actual air blocks. And the red means that it won't be saved as anything. So it's just null. So what if we generate the entire space dimension with void air blocks like we've been doing? It won't save properly, except for here. So then we would put in, you know, we'd put in the structure void blocks. They wouldn't be saved as structure void blocks. They would instead be saved as null, which would then turn into void air blocks because there's blocks here, so it gets updated correctly. Okay, I have an idea and we need to test something. Let's find one of our structures, preferably a spaceship. All right, let's see. Can it detect if we're in a structure? Oh, it can. You are inside a structure, yep. Now, one of the things you will notice about this is it's a little jank. We can sit on top and it counts. Oh, I guess we have to be on the slab, so that's kind of neat. And like, you know, maybe oxygen could be leaking out, so it's not a perfect solution, but I'm running short on ideas here. So, we might just have to call this good. Because if you haven't already connected the dots, basically anytime it's saying this message, we're going to be counting it as them being in regular air. Oh, whoa, I've never done this before. I'm holding shift and just pressing jump. You can kind of moon jump around. Wow, this is actually a really nice way. I can't believe I've never figured that out before. Oh, that's fun. All right, so I think we're going to go with the advancement method here, and let me just put all those pieces together. Wait. Hang on just a second. Oh my word, I've had an epiphany. So you know how if we're close to the bottom here, we're losing oxygen. But once we get a little ways away, once we get outside of the chunk, once I get up here, then the oxygen comes back. But you remember how the sculk sensors fill up oxygen if you land on them? Like here, if I land on it, the oxygen goes up a little bit. What if we were to flip it so that basically there was sort of an aura of oxygen down here by the sculk, which would make sense, right? Because if they're giving off oxygen, if they're a plant, there could be sort of a little mini atmosphere of oxygen down here. And then once you sort of cross the border, this is where you would start losing oxygen. And then the same would apply to any like asteroids or whatever. So like if this is an asteroid, the chunk would have an aura of oxygen. So you would go inside the chunk and then your oxygen would begin to restore. Basically, you would have atmosphere around land masses, which would kind of make sense because if there's oxygen, it would be drawn to the mass, at least a little bit. Oh yeah, okay. All right, let me do this. The solution was this simple the whole time. That is so cool. Yeah, we basically just swap air to void air to air, and we're forced to expend a resource if we want breathable blocks, because we would have to place... Whoa, where did that go? Oh, We'd have to place structure voids any location that we want to have breathable air. Okay. I think this is the moment of truth. So if we're down by the sculk, our oxygen doesn't go down, as you would expect. But as soon as we leave the safe aura of oxygen, oh, look at that. It goes down. And if we go in here, oh, look at that. There's an aura of oxygen. We can just hang out here and kind of be safe. But as soon as we want to leave, then it starts going down. Oh yeah, when I get close to this, then the oxygen comes back. Oh wow. Yeah, so it's just a lot safer in this biome now in general, because there's so much oxygen generated from the sculk and just like sticking around all the structures and everything. But if you go too far away, oh, there it goes. Oh, that's crazy. This whole time we just needed to flip the way we were thinking about it. There's one more thing I want to find. I want to find a spaceship. We better find it fast because the oxygen's going down. I'm not sure how this is going to affect the spaceship, honestly. I mean, I know one thing it'll do, but it might fill up our oxygen outside. Oh yeah, so the edge of the chunk, it does still kind of do that thing. But better for it to fill up our oxygen when we're close to something that actually has oxygen rather than what was before where in the void we had oxygen. Oh man, this makes so much more sense. Look at that. That is so cool. Oh, and when we break blocks, then our oxygen goes down. So the default block state, if we break anything, oh, that is cool. Wow, I gotta say, that was an ordeal. I want to go back here. This place is way more fun now that we fixed the oxygen. There's definitely some refinements we could do to it in the future, and maybe we will with placed features. I'm kind of running out of time here, so I don't have enough time to just iterate through all of the possible options. But what we have is way better. Oh my word, it makes so much more sense. Look at that. Oh, the interaction with the environment is so much better. You're like, oh, I want to go towards this. Oh, wait, I get oxygen. Oh, man, this is great. So cool. But there you have it. It was a bit more of an abstract episode. I hope you didn't mind. Definitely learned some things. And really, in the end, it's all about getting a new perspective, I guess. Just looking at things upside down. Sometimes that's what it takes to solve a problem. But that is going to do it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the abstractness, and yeah, but that'll be it from me. So I'll catch you in the next one. Later.